Hi, good morning. I'm so excited to be here today. And to kick off this talk, I'm actually going to stop talking and play an exclusive video clip that we interviewed with Vitaly Friedman, editor and co-founder of Smashing Magazine. And we recorded this little snippet during our Developer Roadshow in Asia. So I hope you enjoy.
Because we have very similar communities. We have, Mozilla standing for open source basically, and also us kind of being there for the community. So for us, it was really about exploring what is in Asia, what is happening in Asia, what's the state of things, what's the state of the web. And so I was very happy to kind of team up with Sandra from Mozilla, to make it happen.
One thing we want to do at Mozilla is constantly find new ways to engage with our developer community and to talk about the open web and the browser. Smashing Magazine has such a wonderful reach to the creative community that needs to know more about what resources and opportunities are available on the web. It makes sense. We have two very strong and powerful platforms, publishing and the browser. Yep. And combining those two with our developer community and the creative community makes so much sense.
All right. So I hope you heard some segments of that recorded interview. And the full interview will be actually posted on smashingmagazine.com with Vitaly's recap blog post of our Asia Roadshow, which he joined us in. So again, hi, as my recorded self said very, very quietly, my name is Sandra Persing. I am the Global DevRel Program Manager at Mozilla. And it's strange to be back here at the Magical Kingdom because this will actually be my third time in 2017 alone. And I have to say, yesterday afternoon was by far the craziest so far. And if you don't know what happened yesterday, talk to me later about that. But in many ways, being back in the Disney world gives me some great metaphors and similes to share with you today as I have this opportunity to tell my story about what it's been like to work with this amazing team at Mozilla to create this new program where we wanted to head out into the world and meet with our developer community. So if you weren't aware of this, this isn't a technical talk, so I'll probably score a big fat 0 on your ratings, but I think that's okay. But today's lineup of amazing talks following me, I think, will fulfill that need for everyone here. So by the end of this month, actually, we'll have launched over 57 developer roadshows in cities and towns around the world. It's a lot. And you might say, so you work with Mozilla, Sandra, and it's this roadshow, so, well, what does that all mean, right? In short, again, not a technical talk, I don't code. And instead, I make what's created by code into real-life experience. I listen and read a lot, and mostly in this medium, which most of you should be familiar with, please file bugs. The DevRel team receives numerous sponsorship requests, speaking, resource support requests from within our own company, and also from outside organizations like DevFest here today. So that's what I think I do. And from the outside looking in, I've been told that most of my DevRel and engineering colleagues think of me as sometimes a strict sorcerer, or on good days, a fairy godmother when I get requests that are logical, timely, meets guidelines and deadlines. And because I can sit with my engineering team to listen to their thoughts, suggestions, their wishes, and work together to bring these ideas to life, I think this is the reputation that I have. But seriously, in truth, most of the time during my day-to-day activities, I feel like Winona Ryder in every single scene of Stranger Things. Come on, you know it's true. Why? Because this thing called developer relations and program management really means working with different people from different places, backgrounds, organizations. I mean, if you work at companies, how many different orgs do you have to work with? And I'm constantly thinking and problem solving, putting out fires, right? Which can be pretty demanding. Thankfully, before I worked in tech, I put in some time working in high-end luxury hospitality, which allowed me to glide through meltdowns with enough calm to fake it most of the time. And I worked almost a decade in publishing, which gave me a great foundation for understanding the production process, from ideation to creation, to refinement and printing, and to, as Brandy was talking about earlier, marketing and sales. And finally, watching real people buy real product in real life around the world. And in hindsight, I really appreciated this wonderful training in publishing, because with all the skill sets, I am now able to work with all these different people, the smartest people in the tech industry. And I also find it really interesting that as I was leaving publishing and was told many times, oh, print is dead, publishing books, especially hardcovers or hardbacks, as it's called, it's all ancient. I meet more people now in tech who are looking to get their work published, ask me questions about my history in publishing, and they want a physical book. So publishing is dead. Long live publishing. And working in tech, we have some amazing products that are built, really great positive things. I work at Mozilla. We're a browser vendor company first with Firefox as our main product. And I think the last time I checked, there was about 800 million active websites. And really cool things like even the Web Design Museum showcasing the history of web and web design. So really great stuff. But of course, there's also not so many great things in this industry. And not only our industry. That doesn't make it too happy, right? Which led me a few years ago to join an organization which I hope many of you are familiar with, Women Who Code. And I started out as the director in the Seattle community. And now I work as the fellow with our global leadership team in San Francisco. That was about, I think, 2.5 years ago in Seattle. And a few things we did really well in the Seattle community was growing from 200 members when I first joined to over 2,000 members within 3 years. And I think we are now at about 3,000 members in year 4. And we launched our own technical conference, and I'm sure Mike can relate to this, where we brought in about 600 people locally, mostly in the Washington State area, and it was called Connect. And the Seattle team saw this model of having a technical conference replicated by our own global leadership team based in San Francisco. They also put a Connect conference on this year earlier. And our Atlanta team, they produced a conference called We Rise that was highly successful back in May, and they'll be replicating it again in 2018. So we're looking forward to seeing this model continually grow internationally. I am running around all the time at airport terminals, traveling, attending a lot of conferences, industry events, traveling with my speakers, the engineering team. But I also keep an active family life. And folks, as you know, there's no such thing as work-life balance. These days, it's like love your job and work to integrate everything. It's like one big platform, right? And I live in the West Coast region most of the time in the US with my husband. He's also a speaker, and he does the speaking circuit. We have our 2 kids, 2 dogs. They're terribly spoiled, and they keep me happy and balanced. So let me continue now, going back to all of this, who I am, what I do, where I come from, and what led me to skip down this Dev Roadshow journey that I'm going to share with you today. And here's what Mozilla does to nurture developers out in the wild and why it matters. So again, my role is to make sure Mozilla, we're a not-for-profit company, by the way, both on the corporation and the foundation side, that we're present in public to speak at, to sponsor, and to host events which encourage developers to adapt open web standards and open standards-based technology created by Mozilla in support of our mission here. And just to read our mission, it's to ensure the internet is a global public resource, open and accessible to all. An internet that truly puts people first, where individuals can shape their own experience are empowered, safe, and independent. It's a pretty good mission, in my opinion. And what we want to accomplish through this high-touch, proactive developer engagement practice is to encourage developers to see the web as the primary platform and educate them that web standards and emerging technologies, and most importantly, we want to listen and collect feedback because that helps Mozilla products and technology become better. And we do this to understand what's going on in the market, but also to understand what are you interested in, right? Simple questions. So with this all in mind, at the end of 2016, this plan unfolded that a developer roadshow in 2017 was a great program. And it's to be able to do lots within a short period of time. We're going to program it and launch it for 1 year. It involved a lot of buy-in from everyone within our company. We actually had our executives on board, which was great. And they provided that all-important budget. And the challenge was content programming, making sure that we had qualified speakers at each event. And I'm sure that everybody here understands that. You show up to an event, you want to make sure that the speaker is top-notch, right? And some events, we actually had more than one speaker. So that was also pretty challenging. The topics that we would cover would span across several things that Mozilla was doing really well in the web world. And everyone was very excited about this opportunity. So it wasn't hard to get as many people on board on this programming and selling. And yes, we talk a lot about Firefox, right? Here's a Firefox build. We have nightly, we have Dev Edition, and here's a sneak peek again. Our release 57 Firefox Quantum, that's our new logo, refresh logo, that's going to launch November 14th. And we also wanted to let people know that all this great stuff, apart from Firefox, Servo, Rust, WebVR, WebAssembly, all of these amazing things, product of Mozilla work. So to again take a pause, why do we do events, right? That's my role here. Why do we have speakers? Why don't we just place ads, right? No. And why don't we just let the product speak for itself? Build it, they will come. Well, here are some of our reasons that we believe that events, conferences, speaking, engagement actually works, right? Talks and workshops establish and maintain technical expertise and credibility. In-person interaction increases developer participation and buy-in. Real people giving real feedback. That goes back into the production process to our engineering teams, really helps to build better product. And it's a no-brainer that meeting a person in real life, giving them a hug, high five, it builds familiarity, trust, and loyalty. Really important concepts. All right, so having clarified the why we do the events, let's return to the story of this developer roadshow. So we built the core team within the company, and the members of this team had to have clout, some swaying power. They had to influence their own groups within the organizations. So in many ways, we had a group of representatives from engineering, executives, PR communications, and marketing. And we shopped our plan around, did a lot of informal and formal brown bag lunches, and we made sure that the work we were doing for the roadshow mattered to the goals of each team that supported us. That was the best way to make sure that everybody had buy-in and was rooting for our success. The key component of the Developer Roadshow was that we wanted speakers to be the one who actually built the product. Speakers who knew their community, engaged with the attendees after the event ends, that would be able to give this amazing talk and answer questions from the audience with real enthusiasm. Just going back to this, making sure we're doing this to establish credibility, feedback, and trust. So, what was the challenge of that? Getting engineers who actually built the product, loved the product, to go out there, speak, talk to attendees, and meet them. Well, it turns out most of our best engineers aren't too keen on going in front of crowds and speaking. Well, who knew, right? A whole bunch of introverts. So there were moments where I had kind of freaked out because I would get an engineer who would agree to speak, and then they would say, you know what, Sandra, I hate doing this to you, but I can't. I just can't. You know, I'm too busy. I'm too busy building things. And I would have a manager call me and say, listen, our production schedule just got pushed up. We have some issues. We can't release this person. So challenges, definitely. But we made it work. And we had most people come through. We had most topics that were able to go out into the wild as speaking topics. So yeah, there were moments where I was like, oh my gosh, was this really a good program? I mean, you know, great in my head, good on paper, sold it for sure. But doing it in real life, it's a challenge. But we did, and it all did pan out, and we rolled it out on February 17th at Kansas City to kick off DevFest Kansas City, which is really great. And we made sure this was an inclusive, fun, informative event every time by opening up with a code of conduct. Super important. And as you can tell from reading this, it's pretty long and we do have a full link. I put my name up there. It's not info at, it's not support, it's not general at. It is me. You have problems, you reach out to me. I'm a person with a name. So I love closing out this year from my side, from being here at the DevFest crowd here in Florida, Orlando, by the way, because we kicked it off in Kansas City in the Midwest, and because it was important to show that our Developer Roadshow really wanted to reach developers everywhere, not just in the saturated markets, not just in Silicon Valley. And personally, I just wanted to grab some good barbecue and get out of this crazy tech bubble too. So the DevFest Kansas team was also awesome because they're a great partner. They helped us organize all the logistics and test a few things out, like topic curations for our speakers, you know, who should we speak at which locations, using social media tools. We used Periscope a few times, failed a lot because the audio quality isn't so great. And the most important question, how much swag do we really bring to an event? You know what the answer is? Lots, just lots. Always swag. Swag is king and queen. There's some swag out there. And I was even on the road in the Dev Roadshow team in Germany. This is in Hamburg. Holger Blank is announcing me. He's one of the great organizers for the sold out ever, like JSConf, CSSConf EU, and this was during my birthday. So dedication, folks, dedication. So having kicked off about 3 starter events, I think, my team and I wanted to scale, right? You heard that phrase a lot, scale, grow, go big. We connected more people and departments within my company to participate as speakers for the Roadshow, meetup organizers as our co-sponsors. That really worked out well for us. And we tapped into our community, our Mozillian community. We have about 10,000 members in total globally. So about, I would say, 1,200 employees, but 10,000 contributing members, technical and non-technical. And sometimes I even pulled in speakers who were advocates of Mozilla who weren't employees or staff or direct contributors tied into our company. And that's one of my favorite gals, Ada, on talking about A-Frame and WebVR from Samsung. And it worked swell. It worked even better than I expected, pulling in these additional supports, additional help. So again, thinking outside of just making sure that it was Mozillian speaking proved to be pretty good and authentic. And you know why? It's because it's people, not employees, and not, you know, I work in marketing, not marketing people, not salespeople who would stand up in front of 250 crowds of people and just gush about how much they love A-Frame, CSS Grid Inspector, Firefox, and being part of the Dev Roadshow. So with that, I'm going to play another video. I know I'm really pushing it, you guys. And I hope the audio works this time.
I'm David Bryant. I'm a technical fellow in the Emerging Technologies organization. I have a variety of roles as an individual contributor in emerging technologies, largely associated with technology transfer, getting our research and implementations quickly out of those organizations into product or out into the world.
My name is Jun Ong. I'm an architect and I'm also a light artist. So I do a lot of light-related installations. I also work with programmers, electrical engineers, electronic engineers to do interactive art installations.
My name is Chi Yim. I'm one of the director of Women Who Code Kuala Lumpur Network. Women Who Code is a nonprofit organization from San Francisco. What we do is to empower and encourage women in leadership, especially in technology career, and also, of course, to encourage more women to code.
I like the idea that it gets us out more places. I think I'd rather have 57 developer roadshows than one giant galactic developer event. The opportunity to connect with the community, talk to teams of people working in areas that they see as being central to the success of the web. More than just talking to developers about their specific projects, which is always a good thing. How do we actually scale that up and do more community to community? We can probably have more conversations in a single developer roadshow visit in an area like this with more active communities because we're working through that incubator that's already sort of got them mutually aware of each other. And so if you look at what we've done in Firefox and with our web platform technologies over the 2 years that I've been involved, a lot of that work has been driven by what developers need. So the web game stack, WebGL, WebAssembly, a bunch of these formative technologies sort of coordinated and brought together because we're interested in what developers want and need and how to satisfy them. We are focused on broadly web experiences, new kinds of experiences that can be brought to the web, like VR and augmented reality and speech and that sort of thing. And so the way we know we're going to get those experiences out into the world is by engaging with the developers that are going to help us build the technologies, build important tools like A-Frame, and then create these alternative experiences that will ultimately give people more value out of the internet.
And with this, it gives me a lot of freedom because I always start my creative process sketching on a notebook, and it's very two-dimensional, and then try to work my way in a 3D modeling software. So this kind of combines these two steps together. I can immediately sketch while being three-dimensional at the same time. It's hard for clients to perceive how it would impact their space unless it's rendered. It would be cool if at some point we can play on luminosity, certain lines can glow, and I can dim it, play with shadows maybe. So I don't even have to render it. I can just sketch it, and that's like the render already, and put the goggles on the client, and that's it. You get the idea immediately. This would be a good method to get people to visualize this idea three-dimensionally.
Events like this is helpful to create awareness, attention, but they don't know where to go after that, so there's not so much of follow-up after that. So that's the next step for community organizers like us to find out what we should do with people who attend the events and what's next for them. We find that community now has more impact because we can impact trainers, teachers that would have access to all the schools. So that's exciting. I'm hoping in 5 years' time we will move towards impacting larger societies, not just within your techies, not just within businesses, but with society. That's the beauty of open source, where everybody contributes.
So that was, we recorded that session at Magic, which is a startup incubator supported by the government in Malaysia, in Cyberjaya. And that great production work, the video work, was done by Barry Munster-Tiger. And for those who script shoot and edit videos, this type of production is a technical art, right? I had a speaker who actually said, I was there at the event, and the videos make it look so much cooler and better than it was. So I wasn't sure if that was a compliment or just an insight, but I loved it. I'm going to take it with it. So yeah, I wish I could say oh, that was great, and we all lived happily ever after, and we keep on doing this, and we're going to do this forever and ever. But that's not how things work out. Some things worked out very well, and some things totally bombed. And I'm going to share with you a few of those things that we learned. So here's what worked, and here's what sucked. Just going to show you a few snippets here because I think we only have a few more minutes together. Yep. And I'm going to write a little bit more in a blog post, hopefully in the future, and share that out with you as well. All right, so lessons learned. Events in a box works. Documentations work for all programs. Documentations, you guys. Create templates, guidelines, especially the code of conduct. Code 10 to 15-minute training sessions to get new leads and speakers on the same page. And make sure there's a defined leader to support and guide the team. Be really excited that engineers want to talk and share their hard work and brilliance with the world, but give them guidelines. Give them a program. This is actually a skill set. A successful program executed is a well-attended event, and this is a product of hard work and preparation, and it's just made to look seamless. In the background, we're all running around like chickens without heads. Time is not on your side. Everything can be done faster, bigger, better, et cetera, if you just had more money, help, people, right? Well, let's just remember, constraints are a good thing. Boundaries keeps everybody focused, and it's about the success of completing the event successfully. So again, templates, preparations help, but don't panic. As they say, bring a towel and lots of gaffer's tape. Again, if you don't get that joke, I'll tell you later with our VR kits. And partnerships can leverage limited resources, but they can also put your program at risk, right? There's a balance between dividing the workload, sharing resources, keeping control of the program. And a great venue partner, for example, can be reducing your costs, but they would want to maybe have everybody sign up into their email marketing system. Not cool, not ideal, but just understanding these trade-offs and compromises will help your program succeed. And burnout's real. We actually started with 35 programs scheduled for this year, and we're closing out with over 57 programs. It sucks because we had to reject a lot of people who say, well, why didn't you pick us? Why didn't you come to our city? And of course, it broke my heart. It's going, of course we want to go there, but there's only one of me, and there's 365 days a year with lots of holidays. So these days, the final point, in order to grow and scale that word, I see my role as more of a talent scout, an agent more than anything else, because this is how all this good stuff's going to happen in the world. And let's face it, there's some really great products being built every day. And from all of those, what's going to be featured, what's going to be talked about, what's going to be demoed properly. It takes a team to make this all happen. And of course, the dedication and passion of all the contributors, which are awesome. So, quick idea of what's happening in 2018. I just said we can't keep on doing this. This was a program. It was successful. But 2018 doesn't mean we're going to do the same thing we did in 2017. 2018, we're actually going to look towards more about listening rather than talking. So cutting down on a lot of the talks and speaking events that we're scheduling. And we want to get out there more in more locations. What we're doing and what I'm working on in this quarter is figuring out what these listening focus groups look like, right? And the challenge, of course, as you expect, is, all right, again, Sandra, you're going back to this constraint of there's only you, it's limited teams, and pulling engineers out from workflow isn't ideal. We'll get to that. We'll figure it out, and we'll let you know in a blog post. And then also, we want to expand our technology reach beyond the developer group. We're talking about artists. We had in the Cyberjaya video, Jung Oh, who's a lighting artist, who's seriously considering now looking into VR as a medium of sharing, creating his work. And we want to have that collaboration between what we call creators, whether you're a designer, whether you're a developer, whether you work in front end, back end, it all just fits together to create great product at the end of the day. And we want to make sure it's also accessible to everybody. Again, a huge champion of open source in the web, and to me, the reason why is because of accessibility. And here's another sneak peek announcement. Watch out for a special December issue of Juxtaposed magazine. It's a cutting edge, culture magazine, also founder of Thrasher. And we'll have a feature of A-Frame and A-Painter and one of our longtime contributors, Diego, or as he's known as Feist, showing his work. And with that, I want to thank you for listening. And like I said, my job is not to stand here speaking at you. It's actually to support our amazing engineers and to make sure that what they built gets out in the world. Julian's going to come on next at 10:30. Please join his talk later on. And of course, stay in touch. My obligatory Twitter handle at Sandra Persing. Thank you so much, everyone.